The sterile white lights of the medical bay filtered through Erin Vale's eyelids before she found the strength to open them. Her body felt heavy, weighted down by exhaustion that seemed to have seeped into her very bones. The air smelled of antiseptic and something else. Something warm and alive that didn't belong in the clinical environment of a starship's infirmary. When her eyes finally opened, Erin's breath caught in her throat. They were everywhere, curled around her legs, draped across her torso, nestled in the crook of her arm. Every single cub she had pulled from the wreckage of the Kethar colony ship surrounded her bed. 17 in total, though counting them now seemed impossible as they formed a living blanket of fur, scales, and chitinous plates. Some breathed with the gentle rhythm of deep sleep. Others twitched and mewed softly in dreams only they could understand. Veki, the smallest of the Kethar cubs, lay curled closest to her arm, his silver-striped fur rising and falling with each breath. His tiny clawed hand, paw really, gripped the fabric of her medical gown with a determination that even sleep couldn't diminish. The cub couldn't have been more than 3 standard months old, barely weaned when the attack had come. Erin's memory flickered back to that day, 3 weeks ago by her estimation. The distress signal had been faint, almost lost in the cosmic noise of the outer drift. The Wanderer's fire, her cargo hauler, had been the only vessel within range. What she'd found had turned her blood cold. The Kethar colony ship had been torn apart by raiders, not for technology or supplies, but for sport. The adults, those apex predators that every species in the known galaxy feared, had been hunted and killed. Left behind were their young, crying in the darkness, surrounded by the bodies of their parents and guardians. Any sane person would have turned away. The Kethar were feared for good reason. Their adults stood 3 meters tall, with reflexes faster than most species could perceive, and natural weapons that could tear through reinforced hull plating. Their cubs, even at this young age, possessed claws and teeth sharp enough to shred flesh. But Arin had never claimed to be particularly sane. She had spent 14 hours crawling through the wreckage, coaxing terrified cubs from hiding spots, wrapping them in emergency blankets, bottle feeding those too young to eat solid food. Some had fought her, instinct overriding fear, leaving deep scratches across her arms and shoulders. Others had simply collapsed against her, too traumatized to resist. The Thexri cubs, 4 of them, with their obsidian scales and bioluminescent markings, had been the hardest to find. They'd huddled together in a collapsed cargo bay, hissing at her approach. It had taken an hour of patient coaxing and a significant bite to her hand before they'd allowed her to carry them to safety. Then there were the Vorak twins, already showing the distinctive ridge formations that would one day make them the most feared hunters in the Terminus sector. The Yoken triplets with their compound eyes and venomous barbs. The single Drathmore cub, so rare that Erin had only seen their species twice before. All of them predators, all of them orphaned, all of them saved by a single human who couldn't bear to leave them behind. The extraction had gone wrong, of course. The raiders had returned, and Arin had made a choice. She'd locked the cubs in the Wanderer's Fire's reinforced cargo hold and drawn the attackers away. Her ship's AI had been programmed with a simple instruction: if she didn't return within 6 hours, autopilot to the nearest Allied station. She'd fought like something feral, using every trick she'd learned in 20 years of navigating the lawless edges of known space. But there had been too many of them. The last thing she remembered was the burning pain of a plasma bolt searing through her side, and the desperate hope that her ship would make it to safety. Apparently it had. A soft chime announced someone entering the medical bay. Erin turned her head slowly, careful not to disturb the sleeping cubs, to see a Kethar medical officer approaching. The doctor's eyes, all 6 of them, widened at the sight before her. "By the ancestors," the doctor breathed, her translator rendering the words in standard. "They won't leave. We've tried to move them a dozen times. They always find their way back." "How long have I been out?" Erin's voice came out as a rasp. 11 days. Your injuries were extensive. You should have died." The doctor moved closer, her movements careful and deliberate around the cubs. "The station commander wants to speak with you. The cubs' surviving relatives have been contacted. They're coming from all corners of the galaxy." Erin nodded, then winced at the movement. Will they be okay? The cubs? The doctor's expression, difficult to read on a Kethar's angular features, softened. They will survive because of you. Do you understand what you've done, human? These cubs represent a dozen different predator species. In any other circumstance, they would tear each other apart. But they sleep peacefully together because you showed them that survival doesn't require violence, that safety can come from compassion. Veki stirred against Aron's arm, his eyes opening to reveal the distinctive golden irises of his species. He looked up at her, made a small chirping sound, and nuzzled closer. The galaxy calls your species reckless, the doctor continued. Foolishly brave, too emotional to be trusted with serious matters. She gestured to the cubs surrounding the bed. But I think perhaps the galaxy doesn't understand. You didn't save them because it was logical. You saved them because to do otherwise would have been unthinkable. Aron managed a weak smile. Humanity, fuck yeah? The doctor's translator struggled with the idiom, but she seemed to understand anyway. Indeed, human, indeed.